First of all, I want to thank my three oldest children because they helping us to cope with what's going on.
Don't be deceived by this act. These two have just burned their 6 children to death and are now pretending to be grieving parents. They thought that they could get away with it and even had planned for someone else to take the fall, but everything backfired on them. But why would they do something so horrible to their own children? And how did the police finally catch them? Let's look into the case of Mick Philpott, the dad who burned his 6 babies to death.
What's your name,
It's my kids, Mrs. Philpott.
Mrs. Philpott. How many kids are in the house, Mrs. Philpott? Where are they?
In the early hours of May 11th, 2012, a woman by the name of Mick Philpott called 999 to report that her house, which she shared with her husband, Mick Philpott, and 6 children, was on fire.
Where's the fire?
The house was on Victory Road in Derby, UK, and the children were aged between 15 to 13 years. Neighbors saw dark smoke coming out of the 2-story home and tried to get the children out.
I ran up the street and I got to the front and it was just a wall of fire. I was thinking, oh my God, that's gone, that's grows so fast.
I can't do it. There's no noise of it. There's no noise of it.
Captain Michael, can you see any flames?
I can see that smoke. I can't see anything else but that smoke.
By the time the fire crew arrived, the house was engulfed in flames and black smoke.
Because of where the fire started at the foot of the stairs and the fact the fire spread up the stairs, in effect cut off any exit route for the children. So essentially anyone up there was trapped and there was no way they could get out.
When the fire was out, they went in search of the children, but what they found was truly devastating.
Once they went into the house, they were met by a very thick wall of black smoke. Could barely see the hand in front of the face. Just to the top of the stairs, there's a bedroom almost straight in front of you. That was the first room they went into, and in that room they did find 1 child.
One by one, all 6 children were brought out and rushed to the hospital. Doctors tried desperately to save them, but sadly 5 of the children, 10-year-old Jade and her younger brothers John, 9, Jack, 8, Jesse, 6, and Jaden, 5, died within minutes of arriving at the hospital. The older brother, 13-year-old Dwayne, was in critical condition.
We went in to see Dwayne, and it was just heartbreaking to see him there fighting for his life.
Sadly, Dwayne also died 2 days later due to smoke inhalation.
Cheerful children, mischievous children, but the boys liked their football. She was the only girl, of course, Jade of the 6, very popular girl, quite a bright girl.
The deaths left the entire community shocked and devastated as they struggled to understand how something so horrible could happen. Where did this fire come from? Was it an accident or did someone start it intentionally? And if so, who could do something so evil? Investigators were also asking themselves the same questions after finding gasoline in the letterbox of the house.
Fire starting behind that front door. 2 possible causes. Was somebody poured petrol through the letterbox, or was petrol being used from inside the property to set the fire?
Immediately, a murder investigation was launched and the house was sealed off as a crime scene. Meanwhile, the children's devastated parents, Mick and Mick Philpott, went on TV to thank everyone for their help and ask anyone with information to come forward.
First of all, I want to thank my 3 oldest children because they helping us to cope with what's going on.
But investigators began to notice that something was off about Mick's demeanor.
And of course, the 4 firemen, the police, the ambulances, the doctors, the nurses.
He did seem like a grieving parent who just lost 6 children, but his tears didn't seem sincere.
Can't express our gratitude to everybody.
It all seemed fake and staged. It was almost as if he was enjoying the attention. But would he really do that? Mick was not really a stranger to the local media. In 2007, he appeared on a TV show because of his interesting living situation.
Philpot has a wife, a girlfriend.
Can I just get if I could get the distribution of children right? Is
I've
that
got
right?
3 with my first marriage.
Yeah.
2 with another young lady, 5 with Mairead,
Yeah.
4 with Lisa, and 1 with another young lady, and
Right.
2 on the way.
Yeah. Mick was polyamorous and had 17 children with 5 different women. At the time of the show, he was living with his wife, Mairead, his mistress, Lisa Willis, and their 7 children in the same house.
I'm happy. I've got my 2 wives here, which I say 2 wives, not 1, and I've got my kids and I've got my family. That's all I care about. Nothing else.
He got the attention of the local media after he demanded to have a bigger council house because he had gotten his wife and mistress pregnant at the same time.
Buzzing, just had child number 17. I've soon come to child number 18. There's going to be a lot of people out there that's going to say, oh look, the scum, the scrounger, the shameless Mick has done it again. Well, I'll tell you what, us at the end of the day, my life, my wife's life, Lisa's life, we do what we want.
Now, while he defended his lifestyle, saying that it's his life and he can do whatever he wants with it, the thing is, he didn't have a job, and his family was already receiving an equivalent of $31,840 a year in benefits.
People could say it's my own fault for having so many kids. I say it's my life. I live the way I want to live it.
But this was not just his life. He was also bringing innocent children into the picture without even having a plan of taking care of them. Newspapers at the time called him the world's biggest scrounger. And while many normal people would find that offensive, Mick didn't seem to care. He was actually proud of himself.
Today I want to discover the man behind the headlines and uncover the truth about the guy who has been branded Britain's biggest scrounger.
During the TV show, Mick tried to make it look like he had everything figured out, but his contempt and utter disrespect for women was obvious to everyone to see.
Every bitch out there that's got children who's looking
what's
at...
that expression you just used?
That's what I'm going to use.
That expression
All right,
you
every
just-
woman.
Is that how you describe the ladies?
These are my ladies, different.
Oh, but everybody else is...
Why shut your mouth and let me have my say?
At one point in the show, he had several tense confrontations with the then area MP, Anna Widdecombe, who had tried to get him a job, but he never showed up.
I am
Get a
working.
job.
I'm looking after my
Get
kids.
a job.
Listen, this shows you what a bitch you are,
Get a
doesn't
job.
it? You useless, you are.
Yeah,
Seriously,
yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like the rest. Talk
Yeah.
to that because you're not worth it.
At one moment, he got so aggressive that she had to take a step back.
You're a coward.
Let's do as a coward, bitch. Let's f***ing move it.
And it was not surprising given that he already had a very dark and violent history with women. In 1978, he stabbed his then teenage girlfriend several times after she sent him a letter saying she wanted to break up. When the girlfriend's mother tried to intervene, he stabbed her too. Luckily, both women survived the attack, and Mick was charged with attempted murder and grievous bodily harm. He only spent 3 years and 2 months in prison.
If I was a kidster or a mass murderer, I'd understand, but I'm not. Something happened to me in 1978, which I've regretted all my life. You know, I'm still paying for it.
After prison, he got married to another woman and had 3 children. But the marriage didn't work out as he was already having an affair with a 14-year-old girl by the name of Heather Kehoe. He was 37 at the time. When Heather was 16, they ran away together and she gave birth to 2 sons by him. Mick was extremely abusive towards her and often beat her up because she did not give him a daughter.
She was young, she was naive, it was an abusive relationship, he was very much in control.
Her neighbors would often see her with black eyes and bruises on her face, and she always seemed scared around Mick. Still, she continued to stay with him, and the abuse continued until the year 2000, when she decided that she had had enough.
What was usual following arguments was he'd lock her outside in the back garden, and Heather's described how on previous times she'd actually just curl up around the outside toilet until he was ready to let her back in.
That day, however, Heather climbed over the fence and went to the police station to report him. A long legal battle followed, with Mick trying to discredit Heather in order to get custody of the children. But his plans failed and the children stayed with Heather. A few months later, Mick started another relationship with 19-year-old Mairead Duffy and moved her into the house at Victory Road. The following year, she gave birth to Jade, her first child with Mick. Mairead was really in love with Mick, but he, on the other hand, was not satisfied with just having one woman. He met 17-year-old Lisa Willis, who was a single mom with a small son, and within weeks, he had invited her to move in with him and Mairead. Lisa would later tell the court that early in their relationship, she and Mick had gotten into an argument in which Mick hit her with a piece of wood in front of her son. In 2010, Mick was given a warning by the police after he slapped Mareed and dragged her by her hair. Both Lisa and Mareed were completely under Mick's control and did everything that he told them to. Mick was happy with this arrangement and felt that he had everything that he had ever wanted with the two women in his life who lived to serve him. However, the two women didn't really like each other and were often jealous of each other. Mick did admit in the TV show that he loved Lisa more and even wished that he had married her instead of Mareed.
He did suggest divorcing me to marry Lisa. So then Lisa would have his name then. But I told him I wouldn't divorce him.
But Lisa was slowly getting tired of this arrangement. And so in 2011, she said she was going to take her 5 children to a local swimming pool, and she never came back. As you can imagine, Mick was completely livid. How dare she leave him? He wanted to make her pay for her insolence, and he knew just the perfect way to make sure that she regretted her decision. After Lisa left, Mick told everyone that he intended to get his kids back. He had started going around discrediting Lisa and even calling the police several times on her, saying that she was threatening him. The custody hearing was scheduled to take place on the morning of the fire, and he was sure that he was going to win.
The week leading to the fire, he was telling parents at the school gates that he had a plan. He was going to get his children back, and in fact, he was so confident that the 5 children would be starting school the following Monday.
Investigators thought that it was too much of a coincidence that the fire would break out on the same morning when a custody hearing was scheduled. When they started to piece together the events of that night, they began to question Mick's account of what had transpired. Mick had told the police that he spent the evening hanging out with a friend named Paul Murray. Both men had intimate relations with Heather before falling asleep at around 1:30 a.m. He claimed that they were later woken up by an alarm and they went to check what was going on, and that was when they saw the fire, which was spreading rapidly.
Anything made from petroleum products is going to give off large amounts of thick, black, acrid smoke. There'll be a lot of carbon monoxide in there, a lot of cyanide in there, various different toxic gases. Anybody up there is going to be breathing in those gases.
Now, what didn't make sense to the detectives was what they did after they saw the fire. Because in order to get to the fire, all 3 said that they had passed through the kitchen where there were 2 fire extinguishers and a sink with water. Yet none of them even tried to put out the fire. Mareed went back into the house to call 999, while Mick claimed that he went to get a ladder to climb to the children's bedroom window. But the fire was spreading fast and he could not do anything. Investigators did not buy this story, and so after the interview, they bugged the phone in Mick's hotel room, and that's when they learned the chilling truth of what actually happened.
What? No, listen, Pete. Have they got any evidence on you? They've got nothing on me. Nothing.
As I said, Mick wanted Lisa to pay for leaving him. So he, along with Heather and his friend Paul, came up with a twisted plan. They would set the house on fire and incriminate Lisa so that they could get her children and also get Mick to play the hero who saved his children.
Ladder was already, if not up at the window, certainly in position. And the plan was that he would go up that ladder, he would open that window, and he would rescue all 6 children from that bedroom.
But as we already know, things didn't quite go as planned. When they started the fire, it quickly got out of control, and they could not get to the children fast enough. When the emergency services arrived, all 6 children were found lifeless in their beds. And then, whether due to the guilt of having killed his own children or mere selfishness, Mick refused to go to the hospital with his son Dwayne, who was fighting for his life.
Michael had initially said that he wouldn't go because he'd got to go to court that day for custody of the 5 children he'd had with Lisa Willis. He went for a coffee. He just didn't seem anxious or concerned, really.
It was also reported that Mick had even plotted to get rich quick off generous donations from the community to help pay for the funerals of his children. Mick, Heather, and Paul were arrested and charged with 6 counts of manslaughter. Police had initially charged them with murder, but they downgraded it because while their plans were sick and twisted, they had not intended on killing the children. In April 2013, Mick was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 15 years to be served. During the sentencing, the judge described the plot as a wicked and dangerous plan that was outside the comprehension of any right-thinking person. Both Mareed and Paul were sentenced to 17 years with at least 8.5 years to be served before they had the chance of being released.
We, the family of Michael Philpott, believe justice has been served. This past year has been a very difficult time for our family, as we have had to come to terms with what Michael, Mairead and Paul Mosley have done.
Mairead was released on license in 2020, having served half of her sentence. She was given a new identity for her protection after her release. Of course, many people did not support the release, as they believed that she should have at least completed her sentence because she was as much to blame for the children's death as Mick and Paul. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.